Let's go to Virginia, shall we?
Okay.
And
Virginia.
have a little more Mike to Mike.
All right.
Sounds good.
Part 2.
How about we welcome a fellow whose biggest inspiration is the legendary Marv Albert.
Hey.
He played hoops. He's a New Yorker. And, well, what can I say? He's putting his jacket on, so he's really ready to get down to business. Let's have some fun. Let's go to Virginia and welcome the legendary Demetrius Means Business.
What's happening, Snowman?
What's happening, Baba?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing
How are
pretty
you,
good,
sir?
man. Doing pretty good.
You are here with us, so we're doing fabulous. Okay, to welcome a legend like you to a little session of Mike to Mike. Man, listen, you grew up with a voice that we grew up with that's synonymous with basketball. That, of course, is the great Marv Albert.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you practice his voice calling games?
Well, I never did it calling games, but I entered a lot of Marv Albert contests because I used to imitate him as a kid. Ever since I was 12 years old, I would sit by the radio and listen to him and mock him. And when he was on TV, I would imitate him as well. And so over the years, I've been involved in a lot of Marv Albert contests and won some money, believe it or not, and just had a lot of fun with it. You know, because Marv would be, let's lead us off at 65, 64, smaller. That counts.
And I thought I had a great impression of Marv Albert. And the Blazers lead 63-54, 7:40 remaining in the third quarter. This guy's got me beat. I bow to you, kind sir. And and to have a legendary voice like that sets you on your path to broadcasting. How much fun has it been for you?
Well, it's been fun because ever since at the age of 12, I always wanted to get into sports broadcasting. And I will never forget my mom taking me upstairs in a room. I told her that, and I said, where are we going? She says, we're going to pray about it. And so actually we prayed about it. And then in the 80s, I started going to radio school in New York City. And then I ran out of money. And my mother died. And I thought, well, I don't know what's going to happen now. But when I moved to Virginia, I just happened to be at a game where my wife was principal. And I was standing in the doorway. And I was talking about the game. And this fella tapped me from behind and said, how do you know so much about the game? I said, well, I played. I'm a former player. I scrimmaged against Albert King, Vinnie Johnson, who played for the Detroit Pistons. And so he brought me up to the booth and said, analyze the game. So he brought me up 2 weeks straight. The third week he brought me up and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. So would you like to take my position? I said, absolutely. So that snowballed into the general manager of the local radio station asking me if I ever done a sports show. I said, no, but I would love to give it a try. And then I just started going to different radio and television conferences to work on my craft. And I've been on my local radio station. I broadcast for them for 25 years. I've done 460 basketball broadcasts, 178 sports shows, and then just started filtering out doing college ball locally. And so it's been fun. So the goal has always been to get to the next level. Which is with the network. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because I've had a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people. This is a position that's also given me the opportunity to be a mentor to young people, to kind of guide them and direct them when they ask me how I got into broadcasting, how I got started. And also growing up in New York City. You know, I was a kid that grew up who struggled in school. And I had a teacher tell me that I would never be anything because I struggled in school, because I lived in a housing project, and because I was Black. But I never held that against him because I really liked this teacher. And he said it in a nice way. He just had things wrong. And so, believe it or not, in the 90s, in like 98, he sent me an email. I have no idea how he got my email. He saw all the articles that were written about me. And he started following my broadcasting career. And he said, look, I just want to ask for your forgiveness. And I said, hey, man, I forgive you. You just propelled me to move forward. And I wasn't going to give up on my passion.
You never give up on your passion, because growing up in Chicago, myself growing up on the South Side, you had Marv Albert, I had Jim Durham. And Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr got me ready for Bulls basketball. And I was a faithful listener, especially during the old simulcast era, because the games were on Sports Vision for many years. And I just started recording the games and trying to repeat everything I heard, from Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr's boys to PA announcer Tommy Edwards. We had Tommy Edwards in the stadium. You guys in New York had John Condon, the longtime PA announcer, and now Mike Walsewski at the world's most famous arena. But it's like you have these legends around you and you use them to move forward. And I took a chance in 1995 at Chicago State, and they let me stick around for 14 years, and it's been a filter out process for me since then. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I know you can attest to this, Demetrius, is that the first thing you do when you get into this, after being in awe about it, you have fun with it and you run with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have so much fun with it. And the one thing that I love about it is that, especially, I'm in a small town right now in Virginia since I left New York. And, when you move to a rural area, everybody knows everybody. And so when I first moved here and started broadcasting, it was, and I heard the noise. They called me a come here, because I wasn't from Virginia. Mm-hmm. And they were like, who is this guy on the radio? Who is this guy?
Right.
Once they got used to me, I was told by many of the listeners that we couldn't wait to get home to turn on the radio to listen to your sports show or to listen to a game that you were broadcasting. And I have to give big props to my broadcasting play-by-play partner, Carol Ashburn, because he allowed me to be me. And without Carol, there would be no Demetrius Means to be successful in broadcasting. And he's been my partner for 25 years. And we stopped broadcasting in 2020. Carol, believe it or not, now is just turned 93. But
wow.
This guy has the energy. I used to kid with him all the time. You got more energy than vitamin A, B, C, and D. But it's always nice, because I've never looked at broadcasting being about me. I've always looked at it being where I could put a smile on somebody's face or share information of something that they didn't know, or they stop me and say, hey, we really enjoyed that broadcast. We couldn't wait to hear you back on the air, whether it be your sports show or broadcasting the game. That's what it's all about. And it's about helping others, because, I tell people this all the time during guest speaking appearances or no matter where I go. You don't make it on your own by yourself.
No,
you're only successful from the people that God put around you to help you. And so I've never taken the attitude that it's been about me. And so I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Victor has been my partner for 17 years back home in Chicago. And Victor said to me, can I have the mic for a quarter? One night we were doing a game. And I kept thinking, okay, how am I going to spring this on him? How am I going to surprise him? And Victor was so antsy, and I think it was a game at Chicago State we were doing. And it was a high school game, as a matter of fact, at Chicago State, and I sprang it on him by saying, we go to the second quarter, here's Victor Locke. And Victor turned and looked at me and went, what?
Nice.
Kind of caught him off guard a little bit.
Well, he got me back later, because I was taking a drink of Pepsi to begin the third quarter. He reintroduced me, and I quickly had to finish. But with all of this, if you can identify a couple of your favorite games that you did, which are they?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's favorite games, favorite shows. First of all, I did 2 sports shows. One was a one-on-one sports show called The Coach's Corner. I interviewed players, coaches, special guests. My special guests, I was fortunate enough to have I don't know if you remember the James Brown from the NFL.
I do.
The old Ted Marchibroda, who coached the Colts. I got a chance to interview Larry Holmes. But when it comes to my favorite, I broadcast the game one time, me and my partner, where we got to this ball game against two teams that were rivals, Lancaster High School against Northumberland High School. And Northumberland High School and Westmoreland High School. And the coach for Northumberland held the ball for the whole first half because he knew that his team could not beat this team. But it frustrated them so bad because they stayed in the 2-3 zones that when they finally came out of the zone, Westmoreland, the point guard, had a 3-point shot with 5 seconds left on the clock before the half, and they went into the locker room 3-0. But the drama that was involved with the crowd of 1,500 people roaring and being upset, the opposition team being upset, we received so many phone calls. People wanted a copy of the tape because we just discussed and talked about everything from the crowd to the expression on, what was going on within the game. And that was, believe it or not, that was a highlight because all the intangibles that went on during the broadcast, it's a game that even to this day in Virginia that is constantly talked about.
That is wild.
I'm sitting here crying from laughter because I've seen it before on my end in a high school game. Victor, you'll vouch for this one. There's one we did, the City Suburban Showdown. They had to move the game the day of from Welsh Ryan Arena at Northwestern in Evanston to the UIC Pavilion in downtown Chicago. I didn't get the word until the last minute, and it was Victor that had given me the word. And he said, you realize we got to go downtown now, right? I said, what? Yeah, they moved the game.
Wow.
When did they do this? About 20 minutes ago.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. It was 2005, as a matter of fact, and they needed more seats because of a player at the time for Brother Rice, Bobby Frazier. Well, as it turns out, Bobby Frazier was injured and couldn't play. And when we talked to Brother Rice's coach, he said we did everything we could, even with the extra time, to get him ready, and we've got to rule him out. So now we're sitting there thinking, who's going to step up for Brother Rice? Because they were playing the #1 team in the nation in St. Joseph. Yeah. Enter a little heralded hero we like to call Brian Harrigan, who went 6 for 7 from deep and nailed the dagger to seal the game to take down #1 St. Joseph. Wow. I had no ears after the game. Victor had no ears nor no voice. Our friend Derek, who was our producer on site, turned and looked at me and went, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
Boy.
That was crazy.
So many things. First of all, people don't realize, when people say you guys did a great job, whatever, they don't realize the preparation that's involved.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the broadcast look easy. And for me, with my local radio station, you got to remember, I started at my local radio station in the season of 94-95. And those were back in the days where when I was in the studio hosting the show, we had the old carts where you put the So, and then there's been times.
I tell you how many of those carts I went through.
and then when we did our broadcast, we had a phone line.
Yes.
And many times when we had a problem where, our system broke down, I remember setting up 2 splitters for 2 phones for me and my partner, and we broadcast the game by phone. Nobody never knew the difference. And of course, today, you can do everything by cell phone.
Yes.
Through your system, and I was my own engineer on site, so there was nobody there to help me. So I always had to figure it out, and thank God I was always able to figure it out.
You know what's funny? There was a game That was a doubleheader we were covering at Chicago State one year, and we were ready. We were ready to go. We had everything, but unfortunately, a very key part of the system broke. So I looked at John, and he looked at me, and he said, "Now what?" John raced into his office and pulled out. Remember when Radio Shack was a thing?
Oh yeah, I worked
and they had magazines of stuff you can pick up, and they'll tell you if it's on site or not. He pointed right to the page, and he said, "Get me this. It's up on 95th toward Evergreen Plaza." Dear God, folks in Chicago remember Evergreen Plaza. He says, right toward Evergreen Plaza. I had a shirt and tie on. I thought I'd be able to relax before the game, which I was announcing. Nope. Had to get on the bus, fly up to Evergreen Plaza, pick up the part, and I picked up 2 extra parts for it, got reimbursed for it, got back, and there was like 10 minutes left before the first game started.
Wow.
And I'm out of breath.
Yeah, that's pressure.
Yeah, it is.
And I'll share this one. We're coming up on a break, but I'll share this one for you, and I know you'll get a kick out of this one, Demetrius. I went to Kansas City. Chicago State was playing UMKC and was at the old Kemper Arena. Now, I had to tape this one in advance, so I made sure I had plenty of tapes, made sure I had my recorder, made sure I had my headset and my microphone. I set the microphone up. This is 2002. I set the microphone up, and I had the adapter to go into the tape recorder, and it fell apart.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, I mean, I picked this thing up, and I was so careful because it was so worn. When you go through parts that are worn and haven't been replaced in a while, you may run into problems. Ran into a problem because I screwed the thing in, and I just getting ready to put it into the microphone jack, and it went and split apart.
You know, you mentioned that, and it reminds me real quickly of I have a wireless microphone that I bought from Radio Shack. Check it out. I bought it in 1994. I still have it to this day. It works better than the new wireless microphones today. I can go 300 feet with it. I've tried all these different new wireless
and it ain't the same.
Good. The only thing that failed on me on this on the receiver was the antenna broke.
Oh,
I couldn't find a new antenna, and so I was going to go online for Amazon. You know how you do when you search around.
Yes.
I had to know this guy who I worked with at Radio Shack many years ago. Plus, he was a tech guy. He says, "Man, I got a lot of junk in my garage. Let me go take a look." He found the antenna. And so I'm back in business with that antenna.
Victor and I brought a wireless set from Radio Shack because when we were doing summer baseball, doing travel baseball, our boss wanted us to try doing the announcing in the stands, to try to get the fan experience. I looked at Victor and he looked at me and we're like, how the hell are we going to do this? And then it hit me before we went home that night. I said, we need to stop at Radio Shack before it closes. Man, we're not going to find a Radio Shack before it closes. Trust me. There will be a Radio Shack that will be open beyond 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Where are we gonna find it? We had to go all the way downtown. We had to drive an extra 25 minutes downtown. I raced in, found the exact system, grabbed it, didn't have time to test it, didn't have time to do anything. I grabbed it. How many did I grab, Victor? Like 4 packs of 9-volt batteries? Just in case.
I think it was 5.
4 or 5 packs of 9-volt batteries, just in case. And Victor looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're going to experiment tomorrow because we got asked to experiment tomorrow, and we're going to try it." Would you believe that thing went all over the park?
Yeah.
You can move from one field to the other with no problem.
We had a station, I think, at field 4.
Yes, we did.
And we were able to go from 1 to 3 to 5 We never did 2 because 2 had different tournaments that
Yeah.
we were part of.
Field 2 had different tournaments, so they weren't ready for the technology we were springing on them.
Right.
But Fran dared me to go to Field 5 with my microphone that I have on this side of the field to that side of the field.
Wow.
I did that, and before Kevin Harlan famously said I'm calling both games, I was actually doing the darn thing. And Victor looked at me and went, "How'd you pull that off?" I couldn't tell you to this day. It was an idea, and it worked.
Just happened to work.
It's amazing the stuff that you were able to pull off that people don't know about when it comes to broadcasting. It really is.
Ingenuity.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Demetrius Means, the legendary Demetrius Means, joining us on our second half of Mic to Mic. My brother, thank you so much for coming on this morning. It was a blast, and I'd love to have you back.
Absolutely. I look forward to doing it again, and I wish you guys the best as you're doing a great job yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Demetrius.
All right, guys. Have a good one.